In 1993, a quiet suburb in eastern France had been home to two Guinean immigrants who had left what they had called home for the search of a better life. The pair, who had already twin brothers, had another child on the way. And on a calm night on March 15th, they'd welcome the newest addition to their family, Paul Labille Pogba. What they definitely did not know that night, however, was that this baby would one day become one of the world's most captivating and exciting football players who had the keys and skill set to become one of the best in the world. And the one who would forever write the Pogbas down in history by winning the most coveted prize in sports, the FIFA World Cup. But things won't always be so fairy tale and story-like. His story is filled with a bunch of betrayals. His own brothers trying to kidnap him, people using him for money and fame, a doping scandal which had left him banned from the sport and has tarnished his legacy. This story has the highest highs and the lowest lows. But before we get to all that, let's go back to where it all started. As a kid, Pogba would have humble beginnings. Lagny-sur-Marne wasn't known to be a rich neighborhood. In fact, well, let's just put it in his own words. It was the hood. Although Pogba himself has said he rather enjoyed his childhood, as he had family, food, water, and clothes. He slept with 4 people in the same bed. And like many kids his age in France, he wanted to become a footballer. He loved football and was an Arsenal fan growing up. He would play football all the time, even saying his only goal in life was to become a professional one day. Paul from a young age was gifted and different. Standing taller than the rest of the kids, he would start his early career at age 6, playing for his hometown side, spending 7 years at his first team before joining a club at a higher level, only spending 1 year there before being scouted to join professional club Le Havre, captaining the side in his second season at the U16 level. At this time, Pogba would also be called up for his international side at the youth level, getting game time there as well. And it wouldn't take long before scouts of world-renowned teams found the young gem Pogba was and could become. In fact, he would announce that he would be signing his first professional contract with Manchester United, which at this time was still being managed under the great Sir Alex Ferguson. However, things wouldn't be so simple. And almost foreshadowing the story of his career, Pogba would go through his first scandal before even making an appearance for the side, as his old club, Le Havre, were furious with his move and would publicly criticize Manchester United online, posting about a potential bribe to Pogba's family and asking FIFA to start an investigation about the transfer. With the then president of the French club coming out and saying that they gave Pogba's parents 87,000 euros and promised them a home. United quickly came out and threatened to sue the club, and a court case ensued, but FIFA cleared Manchester United of any wrongdoing. After this whole fiasco, Pogba would head to the under-18 side for Manchester, honing his skills and craft. The tall and athletically gifted midfielder possessed a silky dribble and a clean passing vision, almost Zidane-like, and he also had a powerful shot to score from distance. Winning youth trophies left and right, United had no other chance but to call him up to the senior squad. However, Pogba still wasn't at the level Sir Alex needed him to be to start or even be on the bench. For yet another year, it was hard for him to crack into the first team, with Premier League legends in front of him. Manchester United was one of the best teams in the world during that time, and Pogba had decided that it was time for a move. With his contract coming to an end in the 2012 season, Juventus would be keen to sign him, and that's where he wanted to go. But again, his departure would leave a sour taste in the mouth of many, as Sir Alex would even come out and say that he thought Pogba never respected the club. But those days were seemingly behind him, as he signed a 4-year deal at Juventus. This time he wouldn't have to watch from the sidelines, and got to play at the biggest stages, including making his first Champions League debut. Playing alongside legends like Buffon and Pirlo, Pogba would really start to come into the limelight. Winning trophy after trophy, his name would start to be heard all over the world. His flamboyant hairdos, his flair on the pitch was just as popular as his off-field style. He would flourish under the brightest lights, winning the Young Player of the Tournament for the 2014 World Cup, growing as a brand and a player. Pogba was an absolute joy to watch, anchoring the Juventus midfield and even reaching a Champions League final in 2015. But they did lose to Barcelona. But that didn't diminish anything. Paul was a key player for both Juventus and the France national team, winning 4 straight Scudettos with Juventus and a domestic treble in 2016. Pogba would be put on a shortlist for the top 10 players in the world. He would have millions of followers on Instagram, and millions of people around the globe wanted to watch more of Paul Pogba. He had made it. Pogba was a household name. Pogba was a superstar. 2016 saw France host the European Championships, where France were a favorite to win the whole thing, And things were no different on the pitch, as France would easily get out of their group and make it all the way to the final of the Euros, facing Portugal. Although it was a tight game, fate had other plans for France, as Adair would score a late winner for Portugal. For Pogba, this would be his second major final loss. However, many would forget that loss just as quickly, as his name would once again be heard all over the world. His old club Manchester United would contact Juventus about a transfer, but not just for any regular fee. See, Pogba would break a world record, signing for Manchester United for what was at the time an unheard of amount, 105 million euros. Pogba was global and his return would be heard all over the world. Saying goodbye to Juventus, where he was loved, and to go back to Manchester was a tough challenge for Paul, but it was nothing he couldn't handle. In fact, in his debut season with Jose Mourinho, United would go on to win a Europa League title, giving them their first European success since their iconic Champions League triumph in 2008. Although there were cracks in the foundation, the Europa League had brought them time. And in 2018, things would go down for Manchester. Losing the FA Cup final to Chelsea was paired with a runner-up Premier League finish behind rivals Manchester City, and many questions were starting to be raised about Pogba. He was supposed to flourish and be the main man, but he looked more reserved. Although he would have moments of brilliance, his development as a player would slow down. But for Pogba, he would go on the record to say that at this time, he was struggling with depression, which was the probable cause for his inconsistent performances. But there was no time for Pogba to worry about this. The 2018 World Cup was just around the corner, and he would travel to Russia for a chance at ultimate glory. Filled with a squad full of stars like an 18-year-old Mbappe, prime N'Golo Kante, and many others, France would once again be the favorites and be ready to destroy everybody. With the heartbreak from 2016 fresh in the squad's mind, they were ready to win it all. Getting out of their group and getting all the way to the final, this time they were matched up with Croatia. And France was, well, they were just too good. A different tier from other nationals of the sport. He was one of the best players in the whole tournament at the process. And who knew a kid out of Paris's random suburbs would go on to be a machine in the midfield, orchestrating attacks and dribbling past opponents. Physically superior to everyone else, I would say this tournament was his prime. Putting in crunching tackles with his long legs while also being aerially dominant, Pogba was the perfect midfielder. So his following season at Manchester United is really a question mark in his career. Falling out with Jose Mourinho, he would be benched for some games and once again have poor and inconsistent performances. It was clear that these two couldn't be on the same team together. So Manchester United would sack Jose Mourinho and bring in Ole. Pogba would show out the rest of the season and have his best season in Manchester United. Stats-wise, he would score 16 and assist 11, while making the PFA Team of the Year. With teams like Real Madrid and Juventus bidding for him, it looked as though Paul Pogba was on the move. However, United would reject all of these bids, and he would stay for United with his last two seasons, but would battle with injury and look like a shell of his former self, scoring one goal in the 2022 season. Although winning the Nations League with France, his decline would be quick, missing the World Cup in Qatar due to injury. With his contract with the United coming to an end, an older Paul Pogba would look to move back to Juventus, securing a deal with them. But the story about Pogba isn't all about football. See, Pogba had a problem. He was injury-ridden and couldn't stay on the field because his body would just keep failing him. And Paul would make a decision that would change his legacy forever. Deciding to take testosterone pills to increase his muscle, get his strength back to his peak form, he would be called for a doping test and he would fail. But there weren't any alarms yet. Pogba had been taking these tests his whole career, and these failures happened from time to time. It could have been a false positive, until they retested and he failed again. See, now he had been convicted of doping, and the footballing body of Italy would give him a 4-year ban, effectively ending his career, as right now he is 31. However, he will be out of his prime and out of professional football for so long that I highly doubt he will play for a top side ever again. And while all of this was going on, a bombshell would drop on his career, as his own brothers would be called into questioning, as Paul had been in a kidnapping scandal that was kept under wraps. Yes, you heard that right. His own brothers had allegedly kidnapped him with the help of a gang his brother was a part of, and they would try to blackmail Paul out of 13 million euros. And just like that, the world would forget about Paul. Being banned from football, his legacy would be tarnished by pundits all over. His own blood brother and family would try to extort him. He was facing the lowest lows. just a mere 6 years after experiencing the pinnacle of the sport. Paul would come out in an interview which had recently gone viral, where he would state many things, like how money changes people around you, how he couldn't trust anybody, how the world forgot about him, even stating Paul Pogba doesn't exist anymore. And that was what really broke my heart. Pogba is a cautionary tale. Perhaps the fame got to his head. Perhaps his downfall was directly linked to the betrayal that his own brothers would orchestrate. Perhaps it was the immense amount of pressure of being the world's most expensive player. But in my opinion, Pogba was special. Even if he didn't fulfill his complete potential, he was still one of the best midfielders in the world on his day. And although he could have won more trophies, many footballers and people would dream to have the trophy cabinet that he has right now. Paul Pogba, in my eyes, is a footballing legend and will never be forgotten. But what do you guys think of him? Do you guys think he's a legend? Did he have the potential to be one of the best midfielders of all time? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.